Michael Laverty in not darkest Wales, brightest Wales by the looks of things.
Yeah, we've been blessed with some sunshine over the last few weeks. Can't complain, but I'm up here because we cannot rely on our internet here on the Wales border, so it cuts in and out, whereas if I come up the hill, I get half decent 4G, and I can hopefully hear, or you can hear what I'm saying.
Just about. Is this like all of Wales's sunshine for the last 10 years, all in a few days?
More or less. Actually, I got back here early March, and we've only really had a couple of rainy days the whole 2 and a bit months I've been here, so ideal really. And we're lucky enough that I'm out of the way, so I can get outside and enjoy the sunshine during the lockdown. And I've got the cart track in my garden, which I didn't actually go out on for the first few weeks. I thought, I don't want to be the idiot making noise when everybody in the village is nearby our home. So I did get out a couple of weeks ago and subsequently crashed and give myself a little bit of whiplash. So just for good time's sake.
Well, it's lucky you haven't got any motorbikes to ride, isn't it?
I know. Yeah, I could do with a trip home to see my osteopath, though. I normally done that throughout my career, bang yourself up, go get straightened, and then in a couple of days you feel right as rain again. Whereas now I've been literally 3 weeks and I still wake up in the morning with a sore neck. So it goes to show that the osteopaths and the physio and that, they do a lot of good. And
it's your age, of course.
No, not at all. I'm still start with a 3 at the start of my age, so I'm not so bad yet.
Yeah, your license says that. Your actual doesn't say that.
No, actually, I'm approaching my 39th birthday. I've been honest about my age throughout my career, so getting up there, getting towards the latter years for sure.
So have you actually retired, or only a little bit retired, or mostly retired, or has Jodie retired you up?
No, Jeremy McWilliams has always been my hero, and he's never retired and never will. So I'm going to follow like Jeremy's path, and I just do a few races here and there. I still love riding bikes. I did have to face the reality in 2018. It was a tough year in BSB, and I knew I was going to struggle to be able to stay with the Tyco BMW team. And there was a new bike coming, but I knew it was going to be hard to justify after a tough season, or to get on one of the other top teams. So when the crossroads came a little bit earlier than I wanted, I could have continued on and found something, or moved towards the television direction and still raced when I could. So I raced, I think, 4 World Endurance races last year, and then got that one fill-in ride with Tyco BMW. I was busy working with Chaz, so I was loving life last year because I was still doing everything I loved at bike races, riding bikes. I really enjoy the television work, so I'm getting the best of both worlds, and I don't plan to stop fully, for the foreseeable. As long as I'm fit and well and can still ride a bike close to its limit, I'll keep doing it. I was doing a bit of test work last year with WP on a bike with Michelin GP tires and carbon brakes. So even getting on something that's that close to the top spec, it just you get the buzz no matter what, and still love it.
What bike was that?
WP have a test bike, so it's like it's basically I shouldn't really say, but it's on an R1 chassis. So rather than so Pedrosa and Callio generally were testing the full KTM MotoGP bike, and then I was testing suspension components on what's based on an R1, but we've got the full carbon WP front forks in it, the shock, the carbon brakes, and Michelin tires. So pretty close, a superbike converted to as many MotoGP parts as possible, and then leave the bike as it is and just solely test the suspension components. So it was quite good. It was an interesting project, and I had a few days out at Aragon end of last year and a couple of days in Barcelona as well. So nice to be still on the close to the top level equipment, because that's what keeps you on edge and just keeps you sharp.
So what when we return to any kind of racing, what will you be doing? Are you still going to do some endurance races for the foreseeable?
Yeah, hopefully. At the moment it's difficult because with no calendar and no plan, it's hard to know. Obviously I'll continue as soon as MotoGP starts, assuming that's going to be middle of July. I'll be working with BT Sport. I would imagine we'll probably be in the studio. I haven't had that confirmed, but I don't think we'll be able to be on site. So I'll be doing that. Depending on the travel restrictions, then for me, I'd like to travel to World Superbikes with Chaz. Obviously, he should be allowed to bring someone with him. His wife Hattie is about to have a child in the coming weeks. So ideally, I'd be still able to travel with Chaz to World Superbike events, and then travel back to the UK if this 2-week quarantine doesn't come in, and I'll be able to work with BT Sport. And then racing wise, I'd love to do the Ball d'Or if it works out calendar wise, and then again team wise, I hadn't committed to a team at the start of the year because Le Mans 24-hour clashed with MotoGP, so did Oschersleben clashed, so it was tough to commit to anything. So I'm available if the dates work out. I'd love to get back on an endurance bike.
So if Chaz is about to have a child, are there some noises being made in your house?
Yeah, it's getting that stage in my life. It's funny. I don't want to be the absentee father, and if I had a child this year, I would literally, without the coronavirus, I was planning to be away. I think it was 34, 35 weekends. So with 20 MotoGPs, 12 World Superbike, a few BSBs, a few endurance races, it was most weekends I was gone. And not only that, you travel on a Wednesday or a Thursday, then you travel back on a Monday. So generally, I'm only here on a Tuesday and a Wednesday, so I only get 2 days a week. So whilst I've been traveling so much and keeping so busy, I didn't really want to be that absentee father, but going to have to make the commitment soon.
I think you probably are, yeah.
The old biological clocks are ticking. But yeah, it's one of those things you have to, I don't think you're ever ready. So maybe we'll just have to take the plunge someday soon.
So what's going on with BT Sport? Have you got this? You're staying with them this year and next year, or is it just rolling from year to year?
No, I had to sign a 3-year contract, so I was due to work this year and next year, and obviously that was up to the end of BT's contract with MotoGP. So ideally they renew and we continue as the team. I really love working with the guys. It's a good bunch. We have a lot of fun. It's nice to be traveling around the world and working with such a good crew. So ideally that continues, and yeah, hopefully, who knows what way it's going to go off the back of this this coronavirus. Obviously we've missed half a season. We're looking at maybe 12 races if we're lucky for the second part of this season. So yeah, looking forward to getting back to it.
Which bit of being at MotoGP do you like the best? Is it the scuttling around in the pit lane, trying to get people to tell you stuff, and keep it quiet, or?
Yeah, funnily, I think it's a mix of everything. You as a racer, you always have the buzz, the pressure. That's heightened throughout the weekend. Whereas now you arrive with a completely relaxed frame of mind. You can have a beer in the afternoon with the crew, but then when you arrive at the track on a Friday morning, you've got 8 hours of live television, so you got to be on your toes all day. You got to be down pit lane. For me, I look at the technical side, so keeping an eye on what's going on in the garages, trying to speak to your contacts and keep abreast of all the technical updates. Then I get to go out on the track and do a little bit of trackside stuff. So I'm a fan of the sport. So for me, I love being around motorbikes, around the top bikes in the world and the best riders in the world. So it's a nice paddock to be in. I remember when I first went there as a racer in 2013, I was a little bit intimidated, but it's very similar to BSB. The people are the same mindset. There's just a little bit of a language barrier. If you don't speak fluent Italian or Spanish, you can sometimes struggle, but English is the predominant language, so I can manage pretty good. And yeah, I think once you get to know everyone in the paddock and you get to know who feeds you and who doesn't, which hospitalities you can duck in and out of, it's a nice atmosphere. You can have fun, you can do a good job, and you can stay in the best paddock in the world, really. So yeah, can't complain.
Have you got a little battle going on with Simon Crafar as to who gets what and who's first for stuff?
No, actually, me and Simon help each other. So whenever I spot something, if I think Simon might benefit from it, I'll give him that, and vice versa. So yeah, we work together. Generally, Dorna get priority, so Simon will always get the first interviews or duck in there. And he's been doing it a little bit longer than I have, and he's got a good rapport with all the team managers, and he can get in and out of a few boxes, and he does a good job now. I think he struggled at the start. He found it tough and the pressure and everything, but he's really settled into it now. So it's a tougher job than it looks when you're sat at home on the television, watching it on the television. That's for sure.
Well, you got two people who are trying to do it who are probably too nice for their own good.
Yeah, that is. You got to be able to barge in there.
So when we get lockdown finished, you're back to work and with the academy. So you're going to start teaching nippers.
Yeah, looking forward to that. It's something I'd always thought about doing, some kind of tuition. Obviously, living here at Kinsham Raceway, you always see kids out on pit bikes and that, but I've always been so busy with my own racing and that I never really took a lot of time to get involved. But I've I've started this academy alongside the guys at BMB and BR8 Media. They approached me with the idea, knowing that I had talked about it in the past. Put me together with Simon Marsh from Vision Track, who's provided the funding to allow us to develop something that I think can be really good for the future. I know I talk about the Spanish and Italian a lot. They ride pit bikes, they ride mini bikes, and they have such a good grounding. But also the Americans and the Australians with their dirt track background, then they know how to rear wheel steer. So I want to create something that touches on all those aspects. So take the chosen kids on dirt track days and teach them on little bikes like you would do at Colin Edwards Boot Camp. So go to hopefully Pete Post's dirt track school here in the UK, some days here at Kinsham Raceway, some days at Wilton Mill, and all the tracks that the BMB series races on. So I want to provide tuition on the track, but our target is, to bring the youth through that might not have the money. So if you're a football player, you go buy a pair of football boots and a football, and you go play football at an academy. Whereas with BMB, they've got those the 140 and the 160 pit bike. So you could literally purchase a 500 quid bike, go and have a bash at it. You don't need a lot of money, some leathers, boots and helmet. The entry fees are quite reasonable, and you can get out there. And hopefully if we spot you, if we can bring you into the academy, if you want to make a career of it, hopefully set that path, and with all the contacts I've made over the years, and open doors. The ideal situation from it is we are bringing someone through into the British Talent Cup, into the new Moto3 Championship within BSB. So I plan to have a few conversations with Stuart Higgs and see if we can set that platform up, that if we can find someone each year, then we find a route for them to further their career and hopefully open doors for them. So it's a broad picture we've got. We've not built it from the top up where it's a really strict and rigid plan. We want to get the guys on a test day, see the ones that we think have the potential, that have the desire, that want to race bikes, that aren't being forced to do it, and then hopefully unlock a bit of that potential, give them that real good base of learning that we struggle to provide here in the UK to the youth system. And then hopefully we can have another crop, because we had such a good crop of talent come through. When you look at the era with Cal Crutchlow, Johnny Ray, Chaz Davies, Tom Sykes, my brother Eugene, at the time Craig Jones, there was such a strong bunch, all similar age, came through at the right time. But the problem was, for them, they still hadn't reached their best until they were late 20s and into their 30s, and that's too late for many of the factory teams now. The sport has evolved where they want kids at 16, 17, 18 years old, ready to go, that they know everything, they've already got a really good grounding. And I think that's what we need to do in the UK. We need to improve that base level training, tuition and performance.
So you've got to start at 8 years old to be have any hope at all of reaching the top level.
I think so. I think that's the way the sport has gone, that you got to start so young. So I'm a big proponent of the 10,000 hour rule. So that clock is 40 hours a week for 5 years, and that to reach excellence in any given subject or sport or whatever it is, even if it's playing a trumpet, it takes that length of time. So we need to start that clock earlier. So if we can get you when you're 7 or 8 years old, but keep the enjoyment in the sport. So not that it's all about driving towards a professional career, because they do that in America. For the motocross ranks, they actually, the factories sometimes sign kids at 6, 7, 8 years old, and then they go through the youth system, which is quite intense over there. And a lot of the kids reach professional level, and then they're burnt out. They've lost the desire. They're injured. They're beat up. We don't want to do that. We want to keep the enjoyment, train them, show them what they will be required in terms of nutrition and training, and teach them what will create longevity. But obviously, stoke that fire, get the hunger. That's when people love the sport, it's easy to see that in someone. So yeah, try and get them as early as possible. Provide those years whilst they're racing in BMB. Give them opportunities on different bikes. Obviously, Peter Hickman's running the O'Valley Talent Cup, which is a fantastic initiative. So there's going to be a lot of kids looking towards those. They're like mini GP bikes, but I also want to be looking at the kids that are riding little cheap mini bikes and pit bikes. Anything that's on two wheels, they're out there and they're getting the tuition, and we're providing a little bit of a structure for them. And I want to bring along a lot of the pros we've got today. So I've already spoke to my brother Eugene, to Chaz Davies, to John McPhee. Already in BMB, you've got fantastic riders like Richard Cooper, Lee Jackson, Peter Hickman, Ty Kinton. There's lots of guys with lots of experience that are already there. So I want to tap into everybody who's keen to support it. Obviously, there's no financial gain for me in doing this. So I've got to tap into those riders and hope they'll give their time and support the youth coming through, and we can set up something that really boosts British racing.
And if Vision Track committed to paying for most of this?
Yeah, at the moment, Vision Track are the title sponsor, and they plan to back everything we need to do in year one. Obviously, we've asked for a quite a modest sum, and it won't go hugely far in bike racing. So we'll see how much it costs to put the structure together. Obviously, I'm tapping into what contacts I have and hoping that they'll provide support that they'll become partners and back us a little bit. So trying to grow the budget as big as I can, and obviously not try and take everything off of Simon. He's been very, very generous so far in his support, and grow it as best as possible, that we're providing a real avenue with a proper development plan in the next few years.
Get Eugene to sell some of his watches.
Eugene actually isn't a big watch collector at all.
Yeah, he'll have a couple he doesn't use, though, won't he?
We'll tap into him.
You can't live around Formula One drivers and not have some big Ponzi watch.
He actually, he literally doesn't.
His wrist.
I don't think Eugene's actually ever bought an expensive watch. He's not flash at all. Eugene's quite a modest way of living. He just he's all about his racing, and always has been. He's moved down to Portugal recently. I haven't seen him since Phillip Island, but yeah, hopefully Eugene's he's got a really good eye for talent. I remember over the years, before Zarco ever stepped up, I remember Eugene telling me Zarco's got something special about him, and even he said the same about Scott Redding when he first seen him in a 125. Eugene's borderline autistic, I think, without insulting him. He's on the spectrum a little bit, so he sees things a little bit different, which can be a good thing. And he's got a really good perspective on a lot of things. So I'd hope to tap into that resource as best I can.
Cool. And have you spoken to Stuart about any of it, or is there still a conversation to be had?
Yeah, actually, just on messages. So we're planning to catch up this week to see what we can put together. I know Stuart had a little bit of a relationship with the Fab series, with the Cool Fab in the past. I'm not sure what way that stands. So I'd like to tie up that if we could have the academy that is a precursor to the British Talent Cup, because obviously Stuart's brought that in house now, where you got to bring your own bike and run within the Moto3 class. So if we could have an avenue where we're providing a good team structure, where we could step the next generation talent that we spot into that Moto3 class, because I think the Supersport 300 would be a good option as well. But for me, Moto3 bikes are proper little race bikes, so you might spending at least 1 year on one of those is a great foundation.
And speaking of spotting, you'll be back with Chaz again if you're allowed.
Yeah, that is the plan. Obviously, it was down in Phillip Island. We didn't have the best start to the season down there. There was a few little issues, but I'm quite excited to see Chaz on the V4 this year. He come good the second half of last year. Once we found something in Laguna, he went and won a race there, a few podiums in Portugal and in Qatar and in Argentina. So there's a lot of potential in there. So I'm looking forward to getting back to World Superbikes and working in his corner and extracting that potential and showing Chaz has still got the ability and the speed to take the fight to Jonathan Rea if all things are correct.
What did you find at Laguna, or is it a big secret?
Well, I don't know if Ducati would like me saying, but it was a fundamental part on the bike, so to do with the chassis setup, and it fixed the problem Chaz had said all year. It fixed that just overnight, instantly, and then it brought the bike into a completely different window. So he was working through that over the second part of the season, and he was pretty consistent with quite a few podiums there. Finished off really strong in Qatar, and still felt that he wasn't getting close to his maximum out of him or the bike. So I think put that package back together on track, I think he'll be strong.
How does it work? You go out, stand at a corner, watch what he does, walk back into the garage, look at him, touch, go, no, you're doing it all wrong.
No, it's you do a little bit on the line thing, but not so much. It's more you actually listen and compare with what the rivals are doing. So look at what the Kawasaki guys are doing, what the Yamaha guys are doing, see where they're faster, go to the corner where Chaz is maybe struggling and see if it's too much electronic intrusion, if the bike's moving too much, if the tire's squashing too much. Mainly do that, and then get a little bit of a look through the data logging in between sessions, see if there's something that you can spot on there, and just help bridge that gaps, fill in the blanks for the crew chief, because you look at lines on the data and it does tell you one thing, but sometimes what you're seeing trackside can be a little bit different. And if you combine that with the rider's comment, you can put a bigger picture together. So it has become commonplace now in MotoGP and in World Superbikes. You know, Jonathan Ray's got Fabian Fore out there. Yamaha guys have Nicolo Canepa out there. It's commonplace where you've always got someone who is a former racer who's got a set of eyes that can see something else and help fill in the blanks whenever you arrive back in the garage. So sometimes you want to have more of an input. Sometimes you have a big input. It's just finding what way it all works inside the garage, but helping that team structure come together, really.
Well, it sounds like it's going to be busy into the year for you.
Yeah. I've been hibernating here for a couple of months, so I'm ready to get back on the road again and get busy. All things considered, if the quarantine restrictions don't apply, it's a bit of a shame with the UK potential 2-week quarantine starting from, the 8th of June. That could hurt us being able to travel back. I was speaking to Sam Lowes, and he was saying the same. If he goes to Spain for round 1, he's not going to be able to come home. So you got to plan to be on the road. And I don't know what way it's going to work, but hopefully it all works out and I can be where I need to be over the latter part of this year.
Well, I was talking to Leon Hasler, and he said that if you have a test before you come back in, and you produce a piece of paper that says I've had the test and I'm COVID free, you're allowed back in.
Okay. Well, that would be good.
Trying to sort something out to go back and forth for Suzuka and testing and whatever else.
Yeah.
Apparently,
it's going to be tough for the guys trying to do that travel to Suzuka as well. That obviously Johnny will be doing it, Alex Lowes will be doing it, Leon. So it's going to be tough trying to work all that travel schedule in around travel restrictions. But I guess Dorna have been quite good through it all. Obviously, the support they've provided for the teams, working with the governments to try and figure out where we can get racing, and obviously the TV contracts, the title sponsors on all the manufacturers. You got to give them something back. So I know some people have said just scrap the rest of the season, but it doesn't work like that. It's a business. We need to get it back out there racing if we want to keep the sport alive, really.